What does AI think of Ninjago? That is a question that pretty much no one has asked, but I'm gonna answer anyways. So today, I asked my good friend ChatGPT to rank all of the Ninjago seasons. Not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous about this. This could go really badly, but nevertheless, the results are in. So already we're off to a bit of a rough start as ChatGPT has decided to put the pilot episodes in D tier. Ooh, that is rough. Essential for introducing the main characters in the world. Laid the groundwork for the series with the golden weapons and the skeleton army. Yeah, pretty agreeable. I would put it a bit higher than D tier just considering this is the OG Ninjago, but I do understand putting it in D tier. There have been many better Ninjago seasons out there. So, yeah, D tier, not the best, but yeah, it's acceptable. Next up, we have Season 1, and this one was placed in B tier. Established the world and characters of Ninjago. The introduction of the Serpentine as villains and the concept of Spinjitzu were foundational to the series. Yeah, again, I think this is a pretty spot on description. The Serpentine and Spinjitzu are core concepts that the series has gone back to many, many times. Personally, I would put it a bit higher than B tier, but B tier is respectable. I can agree with that. Next up, Season 2, and this one's also in B tier, focused on Lloyd's growth into the Green Ninja, culminating in an epic battle against the Overlord. The season had a grand cinematic quality. Yeah, I agree. I think that the final battle was super nice and still one of my favorite arcs in Ninjago to this day. I think that this season is bogged down a little bit by the first couple of episodes, but I think all in all, B tier is a pretty good spot for Season 2. Next up, we have Rebooted, and looks like this one's also a B tier. Blended technology with the traditional Ninjago elements, the return of the Overlord as the digital Overlord, and Zane's sacrifice made for a compelling storyline. Yeah, again, the description is pretty nice. I think that Zane's sacrifice does push the season up quite a bit. I would put it maybe a bit lower, maybe C tier, but again, I can understand B tier. Next up, we have Tournament of Elements, and I personally really enjoyed this season, so I'm very curious to see what ChatGPT thinks of it. And looks like ChatGPT enjoyed this as well. Introduced new elemental masters, provided excellent character development, and had a memorable villain in Master Chen, and featured a well paced, engaging plot. Yeah, I can agree with that. One of the things that I like most about this season is the plot. It is really engaging, especially all the mysteries. It just keeps making me want to come back for more. It's really nice. Excellent character development. Yeah, I can also get behind that. Garmadon, we learned a lot more about Garmadon and Lloyd, and I think that backstory was really helpful to their characters. Next up, we have Season 5 Possession. This one's another one that I absolutely loved, and looks like another one that ChatGPT loved as well, as it put it in S tier, though behind Tournament of Elements. Introduced the concepts of ghosts and Airjitsu. Moro was a compelling antagonist, and the season explored darker themes with significant character growth. Again, I can get behind this description. We did get quite a bit of character development, especially with the all new backstory for Wu, and we also get to see Lloyd struggle after the loss of his father in season 4. I think that this season just has such a cool, ghostly, and spooky vibe that we really haven't seen much. Moreover, while I don't think he's one of the best antagonists, I can't deny that he is a very good antagonist. Next up, we have Season 6. And this one's a really divisive one. A lot of people don't know whether to love this one or hate it, and looks like ChatGPT doesn't know either. That's why it's placed it in the middle of B tier. Narakan's ability to grant wishes added a unique twist to the series. The season explored the consequences of wishes and had a dramatic, albeit controversial ending. Yeah, again, this synopsis is pretty good. I think that Narakan's ability to grant wishes was underutilized, and it did leave quite a few plot holes, but I think that overall it was pretty interesting. Jay's arc in this season was fantastic. And the ending, I think they just backed themselves into a corner after episode 9 and they didn't really have much else to do, but overall, I don't hate it too much. So overall, B tier I think is a good spot for this season. Alright, next up we have Day of the Departed. So, ChatGPT is gonna put this one in F tier, and unfortunately, I'm gonna have to agree. Focused on Cole and brought back past villains. While it had a nostalgic appeal, it felt rushed and did not add much new to the series. Yeah, like I said, I do agree. This whole thing just felt like an excuse to bring Cole back to human form, and I'm just not a big fan of this. Next up, we have Season 7 Hands of Time, and I really did not like this one. For me, it was a pain to get through, which is not something I say for Ninjago seasons. And looks like ChatGPT agrees with me for the most part, as it puts it in C tier. Explored the history of Kai and Nia's family and introduced time travel elements. The Time Twins were intriguing villains, though the season's execution was uneven. Again, I agree with this one quite a bit. The Time Twins, I don't really like them. Pretty much their only character is, oh, Crux doesn't like technology, Acronix loves technology. But I can't deny that the idea of time travel was pretty cool, even though it was underutilized. Next up, we have Season 8 Sons of Garmadon. This one's another one that I love, and another one that ChatGPT loves as well, as it's going to be putting it at the bottom of S tier. Darker and more mature storytelling, stronger character arcs, and the introduction of Harumi as a complex antagonist. The season reinvigorated the series with fresh energy. Yep, I agree. A lot of people consider SOG and the entire Oni Trilogy to be peak Ninjago, and I'm inclined to agree. These 3 seasons were very good, especially Sons of Garmadon. This season definitely went for a more darker vibe, and I agree with most of the stuff that ChatGPT is saying here. Next up, we have Hunted, and Hunted's going to be put in A tier, so kind of just below Sons of Garmadon. The split narrative between the Resistance and Ninjago and the captured ninja in the realm of Oni and dragons added depth, emotional storytelling, and a strong continuation of the previous season. Again, I agree with this one quite a bit. I think that having the ninja split was a great decision and allowed us to show 2 stories at the same time, and both of these stories were very good. The character development that we got for Wu, I think, added a lot to his character. Of course, the ending of Season 9 is also iconic, with Lloyd defeating Garmadon. Next up, we have March of the Oni. This one wasn't as good as Sons of Garmadon or Hunted, but looks like ChatGPT likes it about as much. It's putting it in A tier. A concise, high-stakes conclusion to the Oni Trilogy. It provided a satisfying wrap-up to the long-running storylines with strong emotional beats. Yeah, I mean, again, I kind of agree with it. About the ending, though, I felt that it was a bit rushed, and especially if the season was longer, it could have taken more time to flesh out the storylines. Next up, we have Season 11. This one was, again, a really controversial one, and ChatGPT doesn't really like this one as much. It's putting it in C tier. Experimented with new animation styles and split narrative Fire Chapter and Ice Chapter. Introduced new lore and villains, though it had pacing issues. Yeah, I agree with this one too. The animation style was quite a bit different, though it did enhance the fights, and Season 11 has had some of the best fights in Ninjago history. So yeah, for that thing, I think it's pretty good. But overall, yeah, C tier, pretty understandable. Next up, we have Season 12 Prime Empire, and this one ChatGPT put in B tier. Offered a fresh video game theme setting with fun, nostalgic appeal. The new characters and digital world provided an engaging and unique storyline. Again, I'm pretty much inclined to agree with this one. The video game theme was really fun, though I do think they could have done quite a bit more with it. I think B tier for this season is pretty solid. Next up, we have Master of the Mountain, Season 13, and this one was put in A tier. Focused on Cole, offering deep character development and an engaging adventure. The exploration of courage and legacy, along with an underground setting, added unique elements. Again, I agree with this one quite a bit. This one is really nice in my opinion. Master of the Mountain is one of my favorite seasons. Overall, I agree with ChatGPT on this one. A tier is pretty solid. Next up, we have Season 14, or technically, first we have The Island. This one was put in D tier, short but engaging. It introduced the Keepers and the Storm Amulet. It served as a setup for Seabound and added new lore to the world of Ninjago. I have some problems with this synopsis. It wasn't really that engaging in my opinion. It felt a bit boring at times to me, but again, I can't deny that this was mostly supposed to be set up to Ninjago, and the new lore that they introduced with the amulets and Wojira would be built upon in Seabound. So yeah, can't complain too much about this one. I think D tier is a good spot. Alright, so far I'm pretty much agreeing with everything ChatGPT has to say. So let's just hope that it doesn't go downhill from here. Season 14 Seabound. This was a pretty good season in my opinion. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say. ChatGPT is putting this season in C tier. Nia's character arc was the highlight, focusing on her relationship with water in the oceanic setting. The battles against Kalmar and Warjir were thrilling. Okay, I think this is the first time that me and ChatGPT have really disagreed, like majorly. I would put this one like at least A tier. C tier, I don't really get. It did have its flaws, but I think overall this was a really good season and it definitely deserved A tier in my opinion. Next up, we have Crystallized. This one was a really controversial season. Many people hated it, many people really liked it, and looks like ChatGPT is one of them. ChatGPT is putting this season in A tier. Brought together multiple past villains and tied up long-running plot threads, it featured significant plot twists, wonder what those are, and explored the complex relationship among the characters. I mean, I personally do have quite a few problems with Crystallized, and anyone who's watched enough 3-hour Crystallized rant videos will know that there are quite a few problems with Ninjago Crystallized. I definitely wouldn't put it in A tier, I would put it at most B tier. But yeah, I can see some people did think that this was a pretty satisfying ending, and looks like ChatGPT is one of them. Alright, finally, we have the last 2 seasons of Ninjago. Well, technically not Ninjago. Ninjago Dragons Rising. We have seen 2 seasons of Ninjago Dragons Rising, and in my opinion, both of these seasons have been absolutely fantastic. But let's see if ChatGPT can finish this off well. So ChatGPT is going to be putting Dragons Rising seasons 1 and 2 into F tier. This reboot introduced a new generation of heroes and refreshed storylines. However, being newer, it didn't yet have the same depth or attachment as the original series seasons. I don't think that really has anything to do with its quality. It just means it's not as new. Yeah, I don't think this is really an F tier season. I really don't. I don't know what ChatGPT was thinking here, but yeah, disappointing ending, I guess. Alright guys, so that's gonna do it for this video. This is ChatGPT's tier list, and I agree with this one for the most part. There are just quite a few seasons that I majorly disagree with, but I think all in all, ChatGPT does have a pretty good grasp of Ninjago, its legacy, its history, and its characters, so can't say I'm too sad about this tier list. So I guess all that's left to do is just rank all these seasons myself, but this video is already getting long enough, so I'll have to do that in the next video. Anyway, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.